first thing that I think we ought to do, the first thing that I think we ought to do with the warning passages in 1 Corinthians 15 and in Hebrews and from the words of Jesus is we ought to take them seriously. We ought to realize it is a dreadful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. And the second thing that we ought to do, I believe that we ought to match them alongside the strong promises of Scripture. And I remember that night that I was so troubled about that verse in Hebrews 6. And I really thought that as about a 16-year-old boy, I'd so wandered from the faith that I couldn't be saved. I read that passage and I thought, this applies to me. I've wandered from the Lord. I've tasted of the heavenly things, and now I've wandered from the Lord. And I thought God would abandon me. And my dad listened to me carefully, and then he simply opened his Bible and he read verse after verse after verse after verse. And I believe we can hold two things that appear to be contradictory and hold them in tension, and that we can have both a fearful reverence for God and also a strong confidence in our relationship with God. And I actually added many of those verses into the verses that I regularly work on memorizing and meditating on, because I think it is good for my soul to meditate on those verses, even those verses that I didn't spend a lot of time memorizing growing up. I memorized Ephesians 2:8-9 and John 3:16 and 1 John 1:9, but I didn't ever memorize that passage from Hebrews 6, but I've started to memorize it.